in 2 weeks, I'll buy it from you. Everyone in this room can make that deal. It's not in the commercial, it's yes, if they choose the price. I got on like this one, I think I can sell it at 525. Starting to get a little iffy on the 5.25 price just based on lack of activity. But if they let me list it at 450, I'd have sold it the day we went on the market. Right? So it's all about the price and what's their motivation. My client's motivation is not really that positive. Younger couple, they have 2 kids, they're going their separate ways. They need to sell quickly, but they also need to sell for the most money. So they have to balance how much longer can they go with the situation the way it is before they start dropping that price down a little bit. So that's one way to set the price. The advantage is your seller is then picking the price. If it doesn't sell right away, well, Mr. Seller, remember at the listing appointment, talked about the price and you picked the price. I just want to point that out. What do you want to drop it down to? Right? Puts the onus on them. I'm going to show you some hard math on how I do it because I think this way is better. For whatever reason, I don't care how long you've been in real estate, when you started, whether it was this week, last month, a year ago, there is something that goes on in real estate that you are just naturally gifted at. If you can find that thing and just blow it up, your business will explode. I don't care what that thing is, something in real estate you're great at. Some people are great on the phones. Some of us are not. Some of us are great at door knocking. Some of us are okay. Some of us are fantastic in an open house. Others are not. They're like, my agent on my team, Nikki, if I said, hey, you go do an open house, she'd probably run me over with a car. Right? She did a chili cook-off though. Some people are doing a chili cook-off. I'm not doing one. I hate chili. I'm doing it, right? Find what you're great at and blow it up or what you're naturally good at. When I first started, for some stupid reason, I was really good at this. So my conversations with people were, hey, I can get you a value on your own real quick. Take about an hour. I can get you all back and tell you what I can sell your home for. Would that be of interest to you? Nobody ever says, no, I don't want to know what my home is worth. Right? Well, Zillow said my house is worth $800,000. Right? This is a script to use when you run into the Zillow person. Let me tell you why Zillow is always wrong. Zillow takes an area roughly 5 miles and draws a circle around your house. Then they go through the last 6 months, a year, whatever time frame they want to go through. And they take every single piece of real estate, every square foot of real estate that's sold, and they add it all up. So last 6 months, here's the total square foot of real estate that was sold. Then they add up the sale price of all of it, $40–11 billion or whatever, right? Then they divide that by the total number of square foot, and it will give you an average price per square foot. And they'll take that and multiply it times the square footage of your house and tell you this is what your home's worth. 2016, give or take a year, the CEO of Zillow, his estimate said 1.8 million on his house, and he moved it himself for 1.2. That's why Zillow's wrong. You have to pull the correct comps. I mean, so theirs, if they were using every floor plan, every apartment, every condo, every townhome, commercial real estate, if it's sold, they used it. That's why it didn't work. It's still out there. Then the worst thing happened. We started overbidding people by like 25%. So I can prove the home was worth 6. Some buyer came in with monopoly money and offered a 7.25, and I'll send you to Disneyland. So the estimates got a little closer, which is worse for our industry. 2020 to 2020. In the last 3 years, we'll say, because I don't know when it was. It was in the fall. Zillow held a press conference to announce to the public that they were celebrating because they got their estimates within 9% of the actual value of the house. They had a party because they got within 9%. And I'm like, I get it, but quite frankly, Stevie Wonder could get within 9%. Right? Like it's just like, and I don't blame them, there's no other way to do it. If you want to be able to click 3 buttons and hit an algorithm that tells you what your home's worth, Again, there's not really another way to do it unless you want to spend $3 or $4 billion on writing software. Right? So I wrote software, pen, paper, and I write software. That's how I figure out my values. And when I sit in a listing appointment, I show them my math. It looks like a chicken got its head cut off with a pen and then wrote all over it. You'll see when we get there today. And I show them that. They're like, is this English? And I'm like, no, this is real estate. I want them to see the work I did. I didn't click Zillow and then just drop it 9% to get a number. I actually looked into this and I did my research. Here's what your home's at worth. Then we can have a conversation about what can I sell it. Because what home's worth, what you can sell it for, depends on a lot of factors. Right? A year ago, it was a race. Put the for sale sign in your yard, and then you had to race back to your office and see if you got back to your office before you got your first offer. Right? There's a little thing that you can count that will pull up an MLS that tells you days in market. On sheer, whatever you want to call it. When I built my business the first time, I built it on houses. And then a young lady and her husband ultimately up and buy a house. She's a CSR, customer service representative manager for RE Colorado. So if I've got questions, I call and ask her. So I call her and I say, can we change from days in MLS to hours, please? This is getting ridiculous. I mean, stuff was selling in 18, 21 hours, 10% over list. The buyers were giving away whatever they could find to give to the sellers. Now we have to sell homes. Right? We have to sell that house. And the first way we do that is by pricing it correctly. Right? So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know that you probably interviewed other agents. Is that right? I want to know if they've interviewed other agents. They're going to do what I call the 3 Ps. We're going to put a sign in the yard, they're going to put it in the list, they're going to pray it sells. I'm also going to do those 3 things, but I'm going to add 2 more Ps to it. I'm going to prospect to find a buyer. I'm on the phones, I'm doing events, I'm out meeting people every day. I'll be out there looking for the buyer for your home. And 2, I'm going to proactively price watch so that I can tell you every single day if your home's priced right. 2, hire the agent to piece 3 times or 5. It's part of the script. You don't want to do it. So that's the script on how to tell them what you're going to do. Proactively price watching is terrific, right? So mine that's on the market now, we've been on 11 days now, 525. We've had 3 showings. I only got feedback on 1 of them. Depending on if they're having a good day figuring out how to survive until they can get divorced or a bad day, the information we got was not good or it was great. It said we were priced right. The buyer said it needed a little more work than they wanted to do. And it was priced right. So I'm like, well, now we got feedback said it priced right. That changes we need to drop the price conversation, right? So my conversation with them is just a good day or a bad day. Right? If it's a bad day, I can probably get the price drop right away. Right? If it's a good day, they're like, no, we'll wait. So it's a day-to-day thing with that one. Okay, a few other tips and notes before we get to the math. The single most important thing when you're pulling comps, you have to pull the same structure. 2 stories for 2 stories, that's it. Ranch to ranch, that's it. You cannot compare ranch with a tri-level. You cannot compare, a multi-level with a 2-story. It has to be apples to apples or be inaccurate. And I'll pass this out in a bit. This is the page from an appraisal of one of my clients. It's got math on it. It shows the subject house and the 3 closest comps they use. I promise you 99% of the time, it's 4 plan by 4 plan style to style. You have to do it that way, otherwise your number's going to be wrong. If at all humanly possible, you want that comp to be as close to your subject home as possible. unless it changes neighborhoods. You don't really want to use a comp that's in another neighborhood, right? Anybody familiar with Jackson Farm down the road? Arapahoe, Buckley? They built a bunch of homes there like 30 years ago. Nice homes, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 price point. There's a vacant lot next to it for years. Somebody bought it and put some luxury homes on it. You can walk across Buckley and double your price point. So a 2-story from one neighborhood to a 2-story new one is not going to compute. But get as close as you can and hopefully in the same neighborhood. Summer Valley, which is a Buckley and Smoky Hill, is a gigantic neighborhood. And so you gotta be careful when comping in there, closest to the house that I can get. And hopefully in the same neighborhood. We will at the end talk about some of the more sort of, we'll walk you through the math. So there's math and science to it. And then at the end, there's also an art form to it. How much do you do for a view? Lindsay was talking about the busy road, but how much does that hurt? Right? If you have a view, make sure you have a view. In the industry, they will tell you don't use the phrase realtor view. If you have to stand on the side of the tub in the master bathroom and peek out the window and you can see the top, the tip of Pikes Peak, that's not a view in an appraiser's eyes. If you open the curtains and there are the mountains humming or singing to you, that's a view. So we'll talk about kind of the art part of adding it all up. It's, if you can, you want to figure out what's the thing that sells this house. What's the best part of this house? The easiest way to do that is walk through the house. Oh my God, it's the kitchen. It's the backyard.
Or ask them, what made you buy this house?
And ask them, when you bought this house, why did you buy this house? They will tell you why they bought that house. 48 years ago, they still remember why they bought that house. Whatever was the reason, they didn't change that. They may have redone the house 4 times, but they left their favorite part. They'll tell you. And that's more than likely going to be the thing that sells it this time, or the thing that the buyer buys, right? Fantastic kitchen, 4 bedrooms are extra, right? Tell buyers agents all the time. Tell you what, you give me $525 for the kitchen and I'll throw the rest of the house in for you. How does that sound, right? Some people laugh, some people are like, I gotta work with an 8-year-old. There we go. Yep, you have. All right. So on your list, you have page 2 are items that have actual value to a home, to the appraiser. If you, as a general rule, my brother had a house like this one time. It had 3 bedrooms, and upstairs was an additional family room in most of those floor plans. When he and his wife bought it brand new, there was an option to turn that upstairs family room into a 4th bedroom. So literally, it's the same exact square footage. They have a door. $5,000 more for a 4 bedroom, right off the top. Just immediately, a bedroom was worth $5,000. We actually got about $8,000 for his because in that neighborhood, there's no 4 bedrooms that fit the schools. Everything was a 2-bedroom. Right. So bedroom's $5,000. A bathroom has extra value, 3 bath versus 2.5 bath. How many? There are 4 pieces to a full bath. That's how we see half bath, 3/4 bath. Every now and then you'll see a 1/4 bath. And I always want to see that house because I want to know what's the 1 piece. Because there are homes where the 1 piece of the 1/4 bathroom is the toilet, and that's it. And I'm like, you couldn't just throw a sink in there one afternoon when you're building a house, right? Nope, they did not. I've seen 1/4 bath that's just a shower. Okay, right? Whatever, right? So 4 bath, every piece is worth $750. So right off the top, a 3-bath place is worth $1,500 more than a 2.5-bath. What else can you think of that will add or subtract value for your subject home?
Finished basement?
Finished basement, maybe, but if we've got the right comps, they're gonna have a finished basement already. If you can avoid it, don't comp an unfinished basement with a finished basement. In a bit, I'll show you the math, you can do it, it's just tricky. So
Would there
hopefully
be-
you have comps where you can find other finished back basements.
Would there be a difference if it was a walkout?
Yes, a walkout is worth $15,000 in most neighborhoods. It's the same exact home, but one's built into a hill, so they allow for a walkout basement, 15 grand immediately. So you start getting up like $700,000-800,000 maybe even more. That's one of the ones that you can kind of play with. It's you say, hey, for $25,000 more, we got a walkout. If you're really nice to the appraiser, every one of you should go to your appraisals every single listing. Every time.
She just told us not
She
to.
just
Yeah,
told us not to. Yes.
I will fight her to the death.
And she said that, she
Yeah.
said, your PC coaches are going to.
Yeah.
What was her reasoning?
Because you might piss them off. A lot of them don't want us sniffing around, plugging them.
So she asks them
Yes.
if they physically want her there, and if they don't, then she still hands over everything that they need, like a packet.
That's fair, but if I find out they don't want me there, I'm going to that. I'm not missing the appraisal. Now, here's the thing about real estate. There's 11 bazillion ways to practice it.
Right.
I will share with you the way I practice it in ways I've had success. That is assuredly not the only way. Right? I have gotten appraisals to hit high numbers, and the appraisers told me, I'm going to give you your number because you're super cool. I have a list that you all look at. There are 10 things you should take to the appraiser if you have them all. Comps, your drawing of it, if you can get it, the 104 MC reports, which I'll show you in a bit, and whatever else is on there. And I put them all together in a really nice package, and I literally say, I just wanted to be able to defend how we got our price. I'm not telling the appraiser that he or she doesn't know what they're doing. I'm not telling them this is the number. I just want them to understand how we got to our number. Because rule number one as an appraiser is, hey Donna,
Yes.
is Lindsay still here?
I don't know, what you need?
To yell at her.
Dukes.
No, I just want to find her a little bit.
Well, you and I do the same thing.
Yes, but I'm almost always wrong and I just,
Sometimes.
here's the debate. If you have,
Okay, what's
a-
the debate?
if you have a listing and you're under contract, are you going to the appraisal?
The answer is 100% yes.
Lindsay said don't, because all it does is irritate.
She
did
was not
not
here. She didn't
say
say don't.
don't.
She said ask.
Yes.
Yeah, heard of it.
Here's-
I will stick up
Okay,
for
that's
her.
fair. All right, if that's what she said,
I-
ask, I'm all right with that, but I'm
Yeah,
still
ask
sharing
is
it.
fine, but here's the reasoning for this, and it's very important, is the fact that you're gonna run comps and you're gonna hand them to the appraiser. Now, my daughter's studying to be an appraiser, so I know the other side of it as well as I do our side, okay? Bottom line is, they're gonna be polite and they're gonna take it. Whether they use it or not is not the issue. The issue is, you took the time to show up, and that you're interested in getting this number through the appraiser. Don't ever be rude to an appraiser,
Never, ever, ever.
ever, 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 no
If you ever
matter what a
accidentally meet an
pain in the
underwriter, you
neck
can
they
slap them
are.
in the eye, but never the
Yeah, no
appraiser.
matter what a pain in the neck they are, don't do it. Just be kind, and it's, if they say, well, I don't want your comps, just say thank you.
All right, that's cool.
That's all right, good, just thought I'd give it to you if you wanted it. But don't ever get mad, because I will tell you, appraisers are like real estate agents, have very long memories. Very long
And if
memories.
you understood, maybe you do already, what it takes to become an appraiser,
And let me tell you what that takes. My daughter's going through it now. First of all, you have to have 15 hours as an apprentice with another appraiser.
how many hours?
1,500 hours. Number two, you have to take 300 hours of schooling,
Roughly twice as much as we did. to get
correct? Plus, you have to do 24-hour CE credit every year. Plus, this process takes somewhere between, my daughter's trying to pass the test. The test is extremely difficult. This process takes somewhere between 2.5 to 3 years to get your license. So once they get it, they're not gonna mess up on it. They're not going to play favorites. The numbers are the numbers. So if you actually price your property accordingly and you price it properly, as Ricky will tell you how to do in future classes, please pay attention to what he's saying to you, because if you pick a number out of the sky and it was in January, you're gonna put that price on it, it does not apply now at all. But it's a long haul, guys, and they will do nothing to jeopardize that license because it takes 3 years to get it.
Same as you guys.
Yeah,
so
you
I'll
don't
be
want
like,
your
no.
license on the line either.
I had to take the school test 5 times to get out of school to get my Reg 33 to take the state test.
Were you at Patrick's?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am not going to do anything to put my license at risk,
No.
because then I don't know what I would do after that anyway. I mean, I can only make so much money with selling pictures of my feet on the internet.
Oh, you saw that commercial last year.
That was somebody yesterday. It's weird.
And I don't want to be told to lose my license.
No.
So
And I will tell you now, when in doubt, call me.
Yep.
Don't make.
At the end of the day, we all practice under Connor's license.
Yes, you do.
So even if I think she's just
Well,
Looney
I bet.
Tunes, I go with what she says.
The reason being is if I go down, all your licenses go down. So you want to be sure that,
So y'all better be nice.
yeah, don't let that happen. But we want to be sure, even if you call Ricky, we can correct it
Yep.
before you do it. What I can't correct is something after you do it. So please remember that. How are you doing, David?
Good.
Thanks, Donna.
2 more weeks?
2 more weeks.
All right,
Yeah,
so
you
2
better
of the
come in and
3
tell me
people,
what.
2 out of 3 agents surveyed said go.
But I have a question then
Okay.
on that. So if they're not gonna do anything and it's all numbers and they're gonna price it at what they're gonna price it at,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You're gonna give them a packet regardless,
Yep.
right, of what you think.
Yep.
So then why does it matter if you were there or not, if like
Because
you're not
we're
really
in a-
gonna sway it?
I believe this because we're in a relationship business.
Mhm.
Yep, and if I can really befriend them in the 20 to 60 minutes it takes, and we can build some rapport, and I ever have an appraiser question, guess what? And this is Ricky over 123 Main Street, I was a listing agent. We met 7 months ago in an appraisal over at that address. I remember you, only 10% of agents show up at appraisals. What's up, how can I help? And then I'll answer my appraiser question.
And
So it's
that
more
will
about
get you
having-
brownie points and that will get your deal through.
Yep,
So it's more about having the relationship
it's
with the,
completely about having the relationship.
that
And
makes
I
more
might know
sense.
I'm stressed. I might be able to prove, I can prove 510, I cannot prove 520. The appraiser can find 10 Gs somewhere. I'm not gonna tell him where, he can find it in the size of the lot. He can find it in other things that he can apply different math to, right? I've seen a fireplace get $6,000 credit because the agent went to the appraisal and just was nice to the guy, honestly. I found that probably 7 out of 10 will at least take the information I give them. And again, this is really important. I simply say, I just want to defend how we got to our number. And then I'm dumb. I don't know anything about appraisals. What can I learn? Right? What can I learn from the appraiser, that appraisal that will benefit me in my business, the next CMA that I do, or the next appraisal that I do? And I've learned a ton of this stuff from just being with appraisers, right? You find an old school, what she failed to mention is, by the way, you also have to have a 4-year degree before you even start. And I don't know about y'all, I'm older than most, but when I was in elementary school, we did career day. I don't remember any 3rd grader ever saying, I want to be an appraiser. Probably once for everybody, somebody wanted to be a realtor because their mom or dad was a realtor, right? But no one ever said I want to be an appraiser, right? When they changed the rules on about 7 years ago, we lost 60% of our appraiser field for appraisals. Because they changed all the rules and no one could qualify. So everybody over the age of like 50 was out. Every now and then you'll get one that's old school. They don't even have the laser to measure a room, they've got a tape measure. Hey, do you need help holding the tape measure? Sure, that would be great. Okay, things like that. But it's completely about the relationship.
That makes sense.
I had an occasion where, one time I went ahead and met the appraiser, and it was a small condo. And he did, I said, I've got some information that I can give you. And he did, I'll let you do the appraisal and then I'll give you the information. I won't interrupt. He did the inside and then he said, I'm gonna go outside and then I'll be back. Well, he never came back. And I waited and waited and I thought, you little stinker. So
I'm quite
I
certain you thought worse than that.
So then what I proceeded to do is I sent a real nice email with, I said, this is the information I was gonna give you in all separate documents so that you can go ahead if you can or want to, or if it's useful, use it in your appraisal. And he sent me back an email saying, which they're not supposed to, it appraised for the cost, for the price, which I was shocked. And another one was where I developed such a good relationship, the appraisal. And he said, if you ever have any questions, call me on anything. And that was really nice.
Yep. I walked into my brother's, the extra bedroom, we were $38,000 over list price. This was in spring of 2018. The market hadn't lost its mind completely yet. And I'm like, all right. And I told him, I'm like, I don't know if I can get this to a price. I think I can get close. I don't know if I can get there or not. So I go there with the idea that I'm going to be be nice to this appraiser. I'm going to be funny. I'm going to be charismatic. I'm suited up, right? Booted up, ready to go. The appraiser gets there and she's Russian. She'd only been in our country like 9 years, spoke broken English, and looked like a female Russian wrestler. Big young lady. And I'm like, we walk in, we start walking around the house. I script it, I give her the packet. Unbeknownst to me, because there was a hole in the system at the time that I didn't know was a thing, that you could set your inspection up through our showing service, and I never got notified. So the buyer's agent, two buyers, and two inspectors show up as we're there to do the inspection. So I've got the inspector, the two inspectors there, because one of them was in training, the Russian appraiser, me, the buyers, and the buyer's agent on like our Tuesday at 11 in January, right? So we get all done. The appraiser's there like an hour and a half. Turns out she's fantastic. Like she was great. And I said, all right, I don't normally ask this, and I don't. Like I'll script someone, but I'm not throwing in anything that's not true either. Like, what do you honestly think about the price? And she's like, I haven't even looked. One of the things that I take with me is the contract. And I take from this corner to this corner, a big green ink, and I write CP and the number, contract price. So they don't even have to worry about that part. It's right there. She looked at that number and she looked at a couple of things and she goes, Rick, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think we're about $8,000 short. I don't want to have to lose a beer bet to my brother because I can't get his house to the purpose. So we're chatting, and she walks over and she grabs the window and she slides it, and I'm like, hey, those windows have a lifetime warranty that's transferable once, and they're only like 18 months old. My brother paid $18,000 for those. Is there any credit for that at all? And she goes, oh yeah, I'll give you half, I'll give you $9,000 appraised. So you never know when you might need it. Now, you may go there and they may not want you, they may tell you to leave. Okay, however, it does say in my contract, because there's now a checkbox in the listing agreement, that a licensed person has to be there at all times if there's something going on. So I'll go stand in the corner by the mailbox. I can't leave. All right, what else has value? We talked about bedrooms, we talked about bathrooms.
Land.
Acreage, the size of the lot. We'll start out with lot size. Everybody knows the corner lot's worth more money, right? Do you know why? Because it's bigger. When they built the neighborhood, they they tract it all out, go all these houses, but they can't provide it all out evenly because it just doesn't work with different floor plans and such. The leftover is the corner lot, it's a bigger lot. Depending on where you're at, it's somewhere between $1 and $2 per square foot. So this is one of the things that I always joke about. There are like 4 things that you learn in real estate school that you can use in real estate. One of which is how many square feet are in an acre? 43,560. It's important because in Arapahoe County, when you look up the property on Arapahoe County, it will not give you the square footage. It gives you the percentage of an acre. 0.17, 0.38, whatever. If you don't know that it's 43,560, you're stuck. It could cost yourself money. Right? So if a lot's, you got a corner lot versus a not corner lot, and it's, 2,000 square feet bigger, you're looking at $4,000 or $5,000 more valuable because it's got more lawn to mow, more leaves to rake. I got old enough now to live in town.
Sidewalk to shovel.
Yes, do not buy a house that faces north. You want to change a buyer's life? Watch them find out what is just really close to the perfect home for them and point out to them that it faces north.
They're out.
They're out.
Yep.
Or they're not out. And if they're not out, they're like, we're willing to sacrifice that. And you just got free rein to negotiate whatever you need because they're buying out from hell out of water. But point it out. Agents don't point that out. Lindsay was talking about walking around a house and taking a look at stuff, right? When you're working with buyers, don't do this. To this day, I do this. Don't do this. Here's the bathroom. They know. You're standing right next to me. They know it's the bathroom. Don't point out what the thing is, point out the feature. What's the benefit? Hey, there's a half bath on the main level. That's pretty cool. Not all houses have that half bath. And if you've got mommy bladder like I do, when it's time to go, I don't have time to run up the stairs. So that's a huge benefit. So this faces north. Why is that a problem? How long have you been in Colorado? 8 months. Here's the deal. Right? And if you can find that picture, there's a meme that goes around. It's a street in Denver where there's 9 inches of snow on one side and the other side they're mowing their lawn. Point it out to them. Which side do you want to be on? Because if you face north, you're the snow side. Right, a lot of times they'll be out, and at the closing table, they're going to be, we are so thankful that we bought a house that didn't face north. It's a big deal. The other one of those things, which has actual value, is an access door to the garage from the house. I had a buyer call me one time, super angry at me. Like, almost lost our friendship anger. Because they bought the house and they moved in, and there's no access from the garage into the house. You have to walk outside to get in the house. There are a lot of older homes in Aurora and Arapahoe County, but that's the case. Point that out. Make sure that you catch, if it's not in the photography somewhere, that there is one, check it. You point that out to a buyer saying, listen, there's no access to the house. Do you want to have to bring the groceries in when it's hailing? Right.
Do things like, do those things add value? Like
About
north-facing,
$4,000,
cul-de-sac?
about $4,000 to $5,000 more for an access door.
What about things like cul-de-sac or the north, south facing or,
South facing, maybe.
okay,
What would be super hopeful is that you can find a comp that faces the same direction, and that'll be a true comp,
okay.
right? So I might look for that stuff. Cul-de-sac, probably a little bit more valuable because you have a curb appeal thing because people like the privacy of it, right? And the lots are bigger, right? But point out to your buyer, be honest, like this is a big yard, that's cool. It's pie shaped with a little indentation over there. You want to mow that? But hell no, man. No, I'm out. Right? And I just started an argument with my husband and wife because she loved it. And he's like, you're not the one that's got to go mow. She's like, be careful or you won't mow any yard for me. So point out the feature, right? Granite countertop. Again, they're standing next to me. Hey, look at this, easy to clean and the match is perfect. Right? Undermount sinks. Huge bonus. Again, that won't have any value to an appraiser, but it is curb appeal. Right? So point out what the feature is. Right? indoor, outdoor carpet, look. You can vacuum your back porch because it's got the carpet on it. I've seen yards like that, the entire backyard is indoor, outdoor carpet. Honey, I'll be back in an hour, I gotta go vacuum the yard. All right, we'll get to square footage, because it's a math formula. Age of the home, 2011 versus 2008. $500 per year. Newer homes, $500 more valuable to the appraiser. Garage space. Anything from 2 to 6 is $5,000 per car. You got a 2-car garage and I have a 3-car garage, my house worth about $5,000 worth of cars. It also plays in the curb appeal, right? 2 identical homes in the identical condition. The buyer's gonna probably want the 3-car more than the 2-car. Might be able to get more than $5,000 out of the appraiser. Hey, it's a hot commodity, less user. That one's sold in a week, mine sold in 3 days, I had 7 offers. Whatever, right? Baseboard to gas forced air. So my biggest lead generation is my bowling league. I don't work the $1 million houses. Bowlers are broke because we spend all of our money on entry fees into tournaments and then new bowling balls. Because every time we bowl like crap, clearly it's the ball's fault. So this is a big one in my price point. Heating, forced air versus baseboard. Air conditioning. This says $2,250. I would tell you, I think air conditioning, you can get $5,000 for their AC. You're going to get phone calls from someone you know who says, we're thinking about selling. What should we do to the house? My question is, do you have AC? They say yes, I say clean the house. They say no, I say consider putting AC. It's the only thing that I've come across in doing this 11 years, that when they sell, they will get dollar for dollar back on their investment. Maybe even more. So it's gonna cost you $5,000 to put the AC and you're gonna get at least $5,000 back. Maybe a tad more. And if you do it and it's just a wash, you do have a curb appeal bonus. 2 identical houses, people are buying one with AC. It's the only thing you can do to house where you can get dollar for dollar back. You get some of your investment back. But we were thinking about finishing the basement because we're gonna sell next summer. Tell you what, why don't you just give me $12,000 at least and we'll just call you. And you don't have to do it because you're gonna cost yourself money. All right, well, just take a standard issue basement. When I say standard issue basement, whatever you think of in your head, think about what it would cost to finish it. $20,000, $30,000, maybe more. It's not gonna increase the value that much. Hardwood flooring versus carpet. If the carpet's in good condition, it's not gonna increase the value too much. Right, curb appeal. Here's a fun story. A client in our market center. She helped a client buy a condo a few years ago. 2-story. So sorry, townhome. She said, I want to sell, and her carpet was needing to be replaced. So the agent said, okay, yeah. She said, well, it's better if I put in hardwood. And so Crystal went through all the pictures of comps, they all had carpet. She said, put in hardwood. You have a huge benefit curb appeal. So the lady put in hardwood. She got under contract. The buyer got the HOA rules. There's an HOA rules. No hardwood floor on the second floor of your town. And they made her rip it out. She spent like $12,000 having it installed and then ripped out and put carpet in it. So beware of that.
If they don't do hardwood, they do that vinyl,
Yep.
what is the, instead of doing carpet, I mean, does that?
No. And if they're selling their home, tell them this, don't buy the cheapest carpet, buy the next level up
Yeah.
and buy the biggest, baddest ass padding underneath it. Right? Do that. And then you have that balance between, do we put new carpet in or do we leave it and give a carpet allowance? Right? Depends. If there are 9 homes in the market that match all within a half mile, I would consider being the only one that has new carpet. But I've heard it before that the seller spends $4,000 on new carpet, and we're sitting at closing a long time ago, back in 2021. When we closed it at the same time, buyer, seller, agents, everyone's there, it's a big party, right? Twice it happened to me where my seller spent money on carpet and loved it, and the buyers bought it, everything was great. At the closing table, the buyer said, I can't wait to tear that carpet out. It's a good, it's nice, it's just not the color that I want. The second time it happened, the lady said she was tearing out the carpet in the living room because it didn't match her couch. And I'm like, there is no way it's cheaper to tear the carpet out than it is to go buy a new couch. Like that better have been like your great grandmother's sofa. That's what she said, so you gotta balance that out. Depends on how bad the carpet is. If it used to be beige and now it's leopard print. Check it out. Carports, $2,500 to start working townhomes and condos, carports for $2,500. Decks and fencing. Those are the things that by nature you're not going to get any extra money for. But if you got a 105-foot back fence, 3 of the posts are busted and it's old and you can see the sprinkler stains on it, and it's leaning 30 degrees, you might get docked for it from the prison. Not usually, but you could. $500 for a patio. I've seen them go up to $5,000-6,000 depending on how big is the patio. Is it concrete? Is it bricked? What is the flooring made out of? That's one of those artsy things. We're really over what I think I can prove. I like to go to the appraisal. The appraiser will go through it. Damn, fantastic brick on that patio there. That's pretty awesome, right? Look it out. Fireplaces, this is 500,000. This was written, honestly, I can tell you confidently, I don't know when it was written, but it was before 2013. And some of the numbers have changed. Bob wrote this. The guy who taught me how to do this.
I was gonna say, there's a link, cost versus value or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, cost versus value sucks unless it's an AC.
Oh.
That's what I tell them, it's not worth it. No, to that point though, okay, look, there are 9 homes on the market. They've all been on the market 45 days. Maybe you want new carpet. Maybe you can have some curb appeal to sell your home faster. It's not going to make it worth any more money.
Right, yeah.
Upgrades. We just upgraded the kitchen. We have a $30,000 kitchen. It's fantastic. It can be $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 more money. If you're ever going to spend $30,000 on a new kitchen, make it the kitchen that's your kitchen for a really long time. Otherwise, not value for the investment, right? It's just not. I gave you a couple of different ideas on paper on however you want to go about doing this to make your adjustments, right? 9 times out of 10 when I teach this class, I'm surprised no one here has asked yet. Spreadsheet for all of this. So on the real estate spectrum, if Ricky's here, spreadsheets are way over there. My assistant for almost 2 years now, I'm sending a spreadsheet, I'll probably just tell my computer.
Well, that's good to know,
I hate that.
because I come from data, so. I'm
Yes,
glad.
very data-driven people, like the high C people. It's just easy to group like this, the people that don't laugh at my jokes, they're high C. Fine. C's are your organized people, right? Those are the people whose life is based on a place for everything and everything in its place, which is terrific. I'm just by nature not that person. My desk looks like a real estate company threw up on it. But ask me where something is in that stack of crap and I'll tell you. But if my Nikki comes in and commits a neatness in my office, I don't know where anything is. Right? On the disc, how many of you are familiar at all with the disc profile? My C is an 8.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the life of the party, most disorganized person you ever met in your life.
I'm a DICS.
You're all of it?
Well,
in order?
in the order, yeah.
I'm an off the chart I, and my next biggest number is S at like 38.
My D and my I are real close together.
That's the perfect personality for a realtor.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, DLs are
Yay,
the
picked the
best.
right career.
There you go.
Good job, me.
I'm gonna give everybody a copy of this. This is just, like I said, it's the page with all the math on it from an actual appraisal from a couple of years ago for one of those things. I was hoping to find one that was a little newer, but I don't always get the appraisals. Yep. The only way you, as an agent, ever get an appraisal is if you ask, you gotta be really good friends with the lender, they'll send you one, or you gotta get it directly from the buyer. So if you wanted your appraisal, you gotta call, Michelle, you gotta call Michelle and find out if she's still swimming adjacent. And if the answer is no, good, you send a copy of appraisal, she'll send it to you. Because we're not supposed to get one. By rule, by law, the lender can only send it to the buyer. Here's the appraisal hole in the industry. So buyers go under contract, somebody should be the buyer's agent or the buyer's agent TC, sends the contract to the lender and says, yay, we're under contract. Lender starts doing all their lender stuff, including at some point, depending on the transaction, ordering the appraisal. They send it out to 3 different management companies. One of the management companies goes, yep, we'll do it. The management company sends it all to out to all the appraisers that they contract with. And one of them says, yes, I'll do it. Then that appraiser gets a hold of the listing agent, sets an appointment to go do the appraisal. When it's done, the appraiser comes back, has to fill out all the stuff on the website that they use, whatever that is, send it back to the management company who approves it, sends it then to the lender who knows the appraisal is good. And then the lender lets the buyer know. The agents were out in the wind. I don't know. At best, the buyer's agent, I try to find out when the appraisal is happening. I may ask the listing agent, hey, are you going? If they say no, I might say, do you mind if I do? I've had that happen once because I knew we were stretched and I wanted it to come in at appraised value for my buyer, because otherwise it would have been a mess negotiating. Now, because if you're under contract at X dollars and the appraisal comes in low at Y dollars, what happens?
Cover the gap.
Who covers the gap?
It's in the contract.
It's not in the contract. Standard issue verbiage, it's not. It says you negotiate it or the buyer can back out. So the buyer has some leverage because you get all the way to appraisal, right? The seller more than likely doesn't want to start over and go back on the market, right? They're like, no, all right, maybe we split it. So in a balanced market, sort of like we have now, where buyers and sellers essentially have equal power in a transaction, they'll negotiate it out. Unless you put an appraisal gap in your additional provisions that says buyer will guarantee whatever, they'll bring the extra cash to make up the difference between appraised value and contract value. Where you can put it in, you can put one in, it didn't go, it's gonna be weird for her client, but we tried to put one in that said, if it doesn't appraise, the seller's automatically dropping to the contract price. Seller didn't go for that, so that's different verbiage, and that deal ended up blowing up last night for other reasons anyway, but there are ways you can negotiate it up front, but if it's just standard issue verbiage in the contract, you get to negotiate it out. Now, the buyer's out $1,000 because I already paid for the appraisal and the inspection, right? Some lenders will let the buyer pay for appraisal at closing. They're taking a risk that we can close this. It can be a big risk. Right now, sometime in the next 2 hours and 35 minutes, my assistant will send me the weekly numbers. And I'll take a peek and see what it looks like. But the last few weeks, we've been running pretty consistently about 30% of homes that go under contract come back on the market. So we're starting to see lenders again charging buyers for the appraisal. I've had that happen like the last 3. So At that point, the buyer's out the money for appraisal and inspection. The seller doesn't want to have to go back on the market. Because if they go back on the market today, it's a minimum of 30 days, probably 40 or 45 or 50 before they go back under contract again. Right? However long it took us to go under contract with them, that it should be a longer period to go under contract the next time. So it took 40 days the first time for my buyers to buy, right? Next time it may take 45 because now it's been under contract, it came back on the market. What does every buyer assume? There's something wrong with the house. When the fact of the matter was, we were off $4,000 at appraisal and no one was willing to split it, eat it, or whatever. Well, back in the day, we were off $4,000, which didn't happen very often. Once you get above about the $400,000 price point, I'll call the other agent and I'll be like, your client, my client, you and me, I'll throw in $1,000. Let's get this deal done. I don't want to have to start back over with those buyers. If you look at it from a cost-effective perspective for my labor, it's better. I make more money spending the $1,000 out of my pocket to close them and move on to the next client. I don't want to start over with a client if I don't have to. So it's worth $1,000. I've done that a couple of times. I bought a ceiling fan one time because the buyer and seller, who went to Armrest, right? The Rosebush story, right? I haven't had a Rosebush story, but I did have an 8-day argument over a grill. And I had a 3-day argument over a ceiling fan. And finally I'd had enough. I'm like, I'll buy you the damn ceiling fan. It's fine. We did win the grill. All right, so. Maybe there we go. Somebody was trying to get rid of that. It's the house that we're going to numbers with. That's 216 South Pierce. Anybody know how to hold this up so y'all can read it better?
How to blow it up?
Yeah, to make it bigger on the screen.
Oh, okay, no.
7216 South Pierce Court, Littleton. Been on the market 33 days.
Control
Listed
plus
at
sign.
625.
Control plus.
Control plus sign.
Oh,
Sorry.
I forgot
Zoom,
my assistant's
control
here.
plus. I know control.
Let's do this.
Control plus.
There you go, excellent.
Excellent. Can everybody see that now? But even Ricky can see. They have nice eyes, they just don't work. All right. So whenever I go, this one is a little bit easier to comp, just a little bit, because I have pictures of it. Right? When I got a house, I got a comp. The first place I look is MLS. Has it sold in the last 7 years? It has. I got MLS info. I know the square footage, I know the bedrooms, I know the bathrooms, it's all right there. Right? This one's easy because it's on the market. Right? Those didn't get my joke earlier, the listing agents in this room.
Yes.
You know, we were having a conversation with them yesterday, we realized we both had a listing in the same neighborhood.
I'm like, oh, you do?
So we were, so have you had any activity on it in the last 24 hours?
Nope.
Okay, one of the things that Ursulina didn't catch is when she listed it originally.
My level.
Where is it? Oh, that's right, it's 2 now. So there are 2 levels, so when I look at this in the MLS, I got a 2-story house. Right? She had it listed as a tri-level. Because she had trouble in the MLS when she listed it. Right? Most buyers would prefer a 2-story over a tri-level. So we switched it A because it's accurate. And B, I think she'll get some activity over it. It takes a weekend. Right? There's your build, taxes. One thing, be careful with taxes. Because of the senior discount on taxes. if you were over 55 years old and you've lived in the same house for over 10 years, the county will cut your taxes in half. What you don't want is one that says, oh, $1,731. Sweet, that's attractive to my buyer. Then you go on a contract and they get their settlement sheet, their taxes are $110 more. Right? Listing agents are supposed to mark that with senior discount, or whatever it says. So be wary of that.
Will we see that on Realist?
Yeah,
or
it will
it'll-
show underneath where it shows taxes right there. Underneath it, it'll say senior discount, senior something.
But for me, if I'm inputting this into the MLS, will I see that on Realist that tax
Probably
is
not on a
marked?
realist. It'll show up on your county website, probably.
Okay,
If not, like, we all have a pretty good idea of what we pay in property taxes, right? Once you've done a couple of these, you'll get an idea of what property taxes cost and what houses. You get one that feels low, ask the seller. They'll tell you, they're proud of that.
Yeah.
I've lived here 12 years and I'm, 108 years old. Yeah, I got it. Right? In 3 years I'll be there, then I just gotta go to the house for 10. So this gives me a ton of information. Right? 0.42 acres, 18,200, that's a gigantic lot. That's a huge lot. Okay, so
Bring me buyers.
if your buyers aren't quite at that price point, bring it to me, mine's $100,000 less.
Hey, we're not competing right now. It's about me.
So when I go to pull comps,
two people.
I'm gonna do it one of two ways. I can put the address in here and I can search for the quarter mile or a half mile of that home. Right, in this case, because there hasn't been a ton of activity in this neighborhood, in Columbine West, it's a slow moving neighborhood. I'm gonna go ahead and search for the subdivision. Now, maybe I'm gonna search there. If you search by neighborhood, you are relying on the fact that whoever input it spelled it correctly. Because if you're inputting it, it's not gonna spell check you. If you spell Columbine with COLO, it's gonna list it that way. So just be forward, we may miss a listing, and also be careful when you input stuff. Right, all right, Columbine West. I wanna know what's coming soon for now. I wanna know what's pending. I wanna know what's closed. I still start with 180 days. Although when I find something that closed 172 days ago, I'm not gonna use it as a comp. However, I wanna know what it closed at so I can see what the drop with the slide value has been. Does that make sense? So if it's dropped 3%, then I might use it as a comp, and whenever I get to my number, drop it 3%. Because that's what's going on in the neighborhood. The other thing that I want to do is I want to make sure I get floor plan, two-story. All right, I've done the 13 matches. To do the purest CMA, I'm going to teach you need 3. You have to do the math 3 times. And you've done about, I don't know, a gazillion of these. 1 is typically enough. I still pull 3 comps so that when I go to the appraiser, I can say, here are the comps I use, just so you can see. Some of them will look at them right away and be like, yeah, I used that one, I used that one. I didn't see that one. Other times I'll look at them and go, I used 3 totally different comps, and that's when I know I'm in trouble because I know I picked the best comps. So if he uses 0 of them, I'm in trouble.
Can I ask, since the market's changed, I've kind of been in the practice of doing like 2 different ones for appraisers.
Yep.
One inclusive of all of those old ones, and then one like within just the 90 days.
Yep.
Comps. Have you found if that's useful with appraisers?
It would be helpful for the appraiser. It's gonna be up to the appraiser if that's helpful or not. If the appraiser's like, I don't even want you here, and you walk outside, or he or she leaves, and then you walk up, and they're sitting in their car, and they've already thrown your floor in the back. Right? Some of them will love it. Some of them will be like, whatever. Yeah, I'm sucking up. I'm trying to get this done for my client, the other client in the industry. I went to one 2 years ago. I stressed her, this was a cash grab. They were getting divorced and it's the wife's house. She got to keep all the proceeds. She said, Ricky, I want you to sell it for the most amount of money you can possible. And I commented at like 4:30. And I was like, the market that we're in, let's try 450 and see if we can get it. I sold it in 3 days, had 13 offers. I got 505,000 with a full appraisal cabinet. Right? I still went to the appraiser because now I want to know what can I get. Now I'm challenging me to see what I can get. And the appraiser appraised it at 505. The appraisal was at 8 o'clock in the morning. Just for anybody who knows me a little bit, fully knows that's not my favorite time of day. Right? If we could start our day at noon, I'd be king of real estate. This morning stuff's for the birds. I always joke there are two kinds of people in the world, right? Morning people and people that want to kill them.
That's funny.
Anyway, 8 a.m. I show up suited and booted, right? I don't show up in shorts and flip flops to an appraisal, especially this one because I want to get as much as I can. So I'm just talking to the appraiser and I was like, out of curiosity these days, how many of these are you doing? And he said, I have 11 of them today. And I was like doing math in my head. I'm like, I'm going business. And I was like, wow, like just out of curiosity, how many agents will you see today? And he said, including you. And I said, yeah. And he said, one. He said, I don't think I'll have one. He said, I don't think I'll have another agent show up. About a week later, he emailed me and he said, hey, I was just thinking about it the other day. I just wanted you to know that I did see one other agent that day. And he gave me 505. I don't know how. Literally, I have no idea how I got to 505. I couldn't make stuff up to get to 505 and it appraised. All right, so 2-story, 13 matches. Bam. There are all 13. This is everything active, coming soon, pending, and closed. First thing I look at, there's nothing pending. There's a coming soon that we might look at. There are 4 active. Right? The next thing I do in mine is I'm gonna go over here. This total square feet. I'm going to click it so it puts them in order lowest to highest. So now I can look at the one that I'm using. Say, hey, we're at 2549. There's 2542. That one might be a good comp. This one here at 7504 West Quarto Avenue might be a good comp in square footage. This one on Getty's, 8126 Getty's. Somebody messed up because it's listed as a 2-story with 2,079 feet above and 2,079 total. So somebody screwed up. Either that's a really big range, or they didn't list the square footage properly in the MLS. So I already know I'm probably tossing that one out, but I'll start looking and seeing what's close. If you can find one that's within 5 or 6% of the total square feet, you can use that as a comp, and you can use, you can do the math plus or minus based on the square footage. So if I'm going to use this one on West Quarto, now it's active, so it wouldn't be my favorite. My favorite comp needs to have been closed. Right? When my listings go under contract, I go and I pull the comp skid and see what's under contract. So I can call listing agent and say, hey, I need a favor, either A, tell me what you're under contract at or what it priced for. Or if they don't want to because they're under no obligation, would you at least tell me when you're closing? I've had it on before. I can't really share the info, but we are closing tomorrow. When they close, they got to put the close price in the MLS. Now, regardless of what it appraised for, that's now the value of the house. So I can use it as a comp, right? I had one time where they were closing while I was at appraisal. And I told the appraiser, I was like, this one that's under contract is literally closing right now. And he was like, they have a schedule. They, as a general rule, try to get their appraisal report in within 3 days of the time they do the appraisal. He's like, if it's in the MLS, it's closed by the time I sit down and look at this tomorrow night, then I'll count it. Well, guess what I did the moment that the appraisal was done? Called that listing agent, and I was like, whoever does your closing, get it, I need it. I need that extra 20 grand, please, 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 and they were super cool, they did it, so it helped. Yep, so what I'm gonna do for math purposes here, does anyone else see anything that you would like that's close enough in there? We're gonna use, for now, we're gonna use the one on 7504 West Porto Avenue, so I can show you the map. What we're gonna do is we're gonna pretend that it closed. Okay? We're gonna pretend that it closed at 6:45, which is what it's listed at. So this box here is gonna be our important box for doing math. So what you wanna do is you wanna start with above grade finished area is 1519. Right? What's the finished area above in your listing? Remember?
Like,
1936. So take 1936 and subtract whatever that other number was, 1519, is that what it was? What do you get?
417.
417. Everybody writes down 417. So based on the MLS, our subject home is 417 square feet bigger above ground. That's ground level in the upstairs. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go back. Normally when I do this, I printed these out and I've got them all sitting all over my desk and I'm making notes and looking like a chicken in a seizure.
Yeah, this question, are you only looking at square footage, not the bedrooms at this
Not
point? right?
bedrooms at
Okay.
this point, not just the square footage. The bedrooms are the bedrooms, 5 grand.
Yeah.
Right? Square footage is an algebraic equation. And we're pretending that this one closed off. So, price above grade, right here in the middle, PSF. Price per foot above grade, ground level and above, $425. I don't know why this is the case. It's been the case in real estate for decades. Take the 425 and multiply it times 25%. 0.25. So you get around 100 and a quarter, right?
106.25.
106.25. Multiply that times the 417.
44,306.
So what we're saying is our house is worth $44,000 more because it's got 400 square feet more ground level and above. Does that make sense? In reality, in terms of the value of the homes, does that make sense? $44,000 for 400 square feet?
No.
That's crazy. That seems insane to me,
Totally.
right? So I would be like, okay, now maybe this isn't now the best comp, even though the total square footage made it close. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna move on to, I'm gonna keep doing my CMA using this as a comp, but when I get to the end, I may toss it out because it just may not be close enough in square footage, even though it looked like it was.
what's the 0.25?
It's a made up number that somebody makes because here's the thing.
Okay.
We already increased our value suddenly by 44,000, right? By taking 25% of that number. If our number was 417 more square feet and we multiplied that times $425, we would get $170,000 for 400 square feet.
Yeah, no, that'd be crazy.
It depends on how much cocaine is in that 400 square feet, right? And it better be all of it. So So somewhere along the line, somebody decided it's 0.25.
So is this breaking out areas of the home, like the 0.25 to the 25% is that part of the home, and then there's land and like,
It's
Lot
just the
or lot
number that they
size.
use because for some reason it makes sense. Usually this one
Right.
didn't make sense at 24,000.
right,
I don't know the history of it. What I was taught, I talked to appraisers. They don't know the history of it. It's just how they adjust for square footage.
okay, yeah.
All right, so now I want to go over and I want to look at. No, I want to go look at, I want to check and see, all right, so this one also has 2,500 finished square feet. Yours has 2,243. Partially finished?
Yeah, it's partial, not.
Great, that makes things super easy. All right, in this finished basement, they got $254 per square foot total, just so you know. The basement, currently the size of the home, finished square footage is worth somewhere between $13 and $15 per square foot. In this area of town, I would probably put 14, I'd probably go right at it. What I would do is I gotta figure out the difference between finished square feet in the basement of the two homes. And I'm gonna multiply that times $14. So what's the total square footage finished in this basement? 1,023. Right, below grade finished area, 1,023. You would please write that number down.
No, no, say it out loud, that's hard, put this on an Excel spreadsheet.
I know, but he's gonna throw a computer
Well,
at me.
that's true.
I don't want-
But it seemed like the angry type.
No, you don't like spreadsheets, but she was like, this is why I don't like
Yes,
this math.
100%. I get it. And I don't disagree with you. I'm just telling you I can't do it.
So all I was whispering was, all we have to do is set it up in Excel with a formula and
100%.
and it'll just do it for you.
100% absolutely
that.
accurate. And 90% of realtors out there, maybe even more will do that. For me, believe it or not, doing it all this way is faster than me trying to figure out the spreadsheet.
Yeah, I'm
I
not.
know how to operate a spreadsheet. Basically, I could go write a formula, put it in X minus Y times Z, right?
Yeah.
Z equals 0.25 in A, like I could do all of that. It's not good. All right, below grade finished area, 307. So what's the difference between the finished area and the comp home and in our subject? How much is it?
716.
716. Multiply that times 14.
$10,024.
Write that down. The other home didn't have any unfinished square footage, right?
I think it was partial.
The other one?
I think it was 1023 on both sides.
There's 1022. There's no unfinished square footage in this basement.
And why does it say partial?
Where did it say?
It says partial basement.
Partial basement.
That has not, that, okay, that doesn't have anything to do with how much the basement's finished. That is it a full house footprint basement or a half?
Oh, the side.
Ever been in a house where the entire house is on one side? It
Yeah,
has a basement and then the next side that attached is the garage,
yeah.
right? So it's not a full basement regardless of how much is finished
I got you.
or partial basement,
Oh, okay,
right? Generally speaking, when it's usually about half. All right, so this one doesn't have any unfinished square footage. And our compound that's 613. Unfinished square footage in the basement's worth about $6 a square foot. So I multiply 613 times 7.
42.91.
So I've got one that's more valuable because of the square footage that's finished. One that's more valuable because we're adding in the unfinished. I would do the math and subtract one from the other. And I'm gonna get $6,000, right? Based on the numbers that you guys told me that I was gonna listen partially to. Right? So we proved that ground level and above was $44,000 more valuable in our compound. And we just proved that the basement in this home is $6,000 more valuable, right? We gotta subtract that out. 44,000 minus 6 is 38,000. Starting to make a little more sense. I still don't like it. I think it's too far apart. I would still finish it. Go and compare bedrooms and bathrooms. What do you have in terms of bedrooms and bathrooms?
4 bedrooms, 4 baths on mine.
3 on the other.
3, 3, 4, 4. That's $5,000 for an extra bedroom and 3,000 for a full bath. Right, so that's $8,000. Now we're getting into, we're proving our compound is worth $50,000 more than that. None of this makes sense, right? Kitchen table common sense doesn't work. Right, I would go to lot size, which is not on this page, although we could add lot size to this page, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna do it the hard way. All right, one that we're pretending closed has a lot size of 7,841 square feet. Yeah.
So clearly your house is priced way more attractively than that house is for this neighborhood. It's right in the same neighborhood, right?
Well, that's wrong.
I mean, it seems like just on the roughest look at things, they're 20 grand higher than you. Less lot, less bedrooms, less bathrooms, less likelihood to sell, unless for some reason their view is so much more amazing.
18,285 square feet. What was the other one? 67?
7841.
7841. So 11,000 more square feet of lot. Let's be conservative because this is already nuts. Right, let's give it $1 a foot. Now we gotta add $11,000 more to our listing. We're at $55,000 more valuable based on our comp numbers and such. Doesn't make sense. I would finish this, I would take it to this, I would take it to my appraisal. And I would say, I would throw this one out because I know that my listing is not worth $55,000 more than this one. Because if he just looked at 2 stories and total square feet, and he had this as a comp, I wouldn't have known. We didn't use it when we got to our number. Which then, so now I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna be like, no man, I gotta come up with a different. I gotta come up with a different. Right. So what I would do then is I'm gonna go put it in order now of those square feet. We are 1830, so. This one here is a little bit better comp based on 1936. Closed in June. Anything over 6 months or older, I'm not, the appraiser's not good. They're not, so you gotta stay within 6 months. I prefer to stay within 30 days if I can. Although, I would say this one is gonna work out to be a pretty close comp. Pretty close, 4444, 700 square feet difference overall. If I do the basement square footage adjustment, finish to finish, unfinished to unfinished. I like that one. I like that one better. So I would go through and do all that square footage math, which is easy. 26 extra square feet on the main level and above. $4,000 maybe, depending on where that square footage is. If it's an extra closet, it's easy. If it's up on the second level and they just bumped out the front of the house an extra foot, so it looks cooler, that's where the square footage is, maybe not. The appraiser's gonna kind of go, okay, is it useful square footage, or just the way, you know, somebody mismeasures something and they look better or something.
Do you have a number in here for things like big walk-in closets?
No. Again, walk-in closet, it's a curb appeal thing, probably not a ton of that extra value.
Just trying to figure out how to quantify it. 'cause
So you have to have a closet for it to be a bedroom.
Right.
To be a legal bedroom, you need a closet, an egress window, and a door. And in older homes, you can know, they still call it a bedroom, even though it's not a legal egress window. They grandfather some of those houses in back in the city. Window well windows are just big enough to throw a football, trust me. All right. Now, here's the last thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna pick 3 or 4 of these and come up with the ones that I feel are the best ones. Right, that really prove the value of this home. Then I'm gonna go back to and now for the next purposes, I want just closed. So I will close in the last 180 days. I'm gonna go to print. 1,004 MC reports, which I'm also going to put in my original packets and take with me to give to the appraiser. This.
Control plus, Ricky. Control
Can't see
plus.
that.
Nice. Yeah, nice.
All right, what do I see? Total number of comparable sales settled. 5 on the previous 4 to 6 months, 3 in the last 3 months. The market is slowing down. Right? Absorption rate went from 1.6 to 1.0. That's median comp close price, $715 to $597. Now, it seems huge, and it is a large, it's not quite as large as you think, just because this starts with a 5 and this starts with a 7 and 5, right? 715, $118,000, right? Comparable days in MLS, 4 to 9. We sold almost half as many homes and took twice as long to sell. What does that mean to you? Right? 4 to 6 months ago, homes were selling for median, we're selling for 104.38% of list price. Now we're at 99.58. What does that mean? Right? So here's where this really matters. I want to know what this percentage is, what the difference is. Right? So I'm going to take 118,000 and I'm going to divide it by 715,000. And I'm going to get what? 13. Does everyone know? See where I figured that, where I got that math from?
Yeah, you subtracted the difference. You got the difference, right? And then
Did you get 20?
0.1650, so 16 and a
So
half.
16.5% grade over the last 90 days that it's dropped. So depending on the comps that I used, if they fell into this window, I got to drop that number by 16%. They were 4 to 6 months ago, because I just proved the 2 stories in Columbine West are dropping.
Are you just using those because you don't have enough within
The 30
No,
day
I would,
period?
yes, because I want to use every 2-story Columbine West.
Okay,
That's it. It's the only criteria. Every Columbine West had to be 2-story. And has to be closed.
right. So you're not so much worried about the time frame because you can make adjustments for that time frame. with
Yes.
this. Okay.
Yep. And you gotta be smart, use some common sense, right? If I've been on, if I've got one that's gonna close, we're doing a contract, right? And it's gonna switch us from one category to the other, does that mean I gotta drop my price 16,000 for 16%? No. Right. But I better be able to prove this. I gotta be able to prove this to my sellers. If you need a price drop, which by the way, one of the classes that is on Wednesday is Brandon Bartik and I have that conversation with sellers on price dropping. Right? Do you want to list your home or do you want to sell your home? That's my favorite one. Right? They carry costs and we're gonna put a whole bunch of time on what's their motivation. By last night, I said, hey, we got this feedback from a seller, I'm sorry. So we have this feedback says we're priced right. For you, the question is, how long can you continue to live in the current living circumstances relative to selling it for the most money possible? Your question was, what's your advice? So it depends, how long can you honestly, without giving away too much advice, how much longer can you continue to sleep with your daughter? She's sleeping with daughter. So if you've got 2 more weeks in you of that, the word is we know it's priced correctly. Right? The other thing that I want to know is
Oh, you think I'm funny. Oh, now I gotta hold her back, right? Now I'm funny. But you can't get me.
so
It's over.
I'm gonna print these out and take them with you, everything that's closed. The other thing then that I want to go back and is I want to close in Cali now. Days in the MLS just to take it. Look what the days in MLS were. Let's see. I got- which threw up a bunch of numbers, right? This one was on the market 19 days and sold it with another contract in June. This one was on the market 9 days. July with a contract. The further back we go, the less and less that it was on market for, right? Now I'm gonna go back and have the active one. This isn't gonna help me with appraisal. It will help me with my conversation with the seller. They say, now look at where we are. One. Almost be right in chronological order, it'll be off a little bit. But you can see the difference, right? Now, I can sell your house tomorrow if you let me set the price. If you want the most money possible, we're gonna be up here in this range. We just are.
And that's really just helping to manage expectations.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Because everybody's been watching the news and, oh my God, there's 20 offers and they're all 100,000 over. So everyone feels like they're gonna get that for their house.
Yep. It's about expectations up front, and you better be able to prove how you got your number. And at the listing appointment, well, we're gonna list this price. You can change this up however you want. The original script was if we have no offers, few showings and no offers in 14 days, we're automatically gonna drop the price. I'm gonna put a clause in the contract that says that, so I'm not even gonna bother you in 14 days if we haven't sold it yet. I'm just gonna drop the price. Cool. I like to say if we're on the weekend, if we're on the market for 2 full weekends, and we've got no offer activity, we need to drop the price. So that's what I told them. They weren't willing to have that clause in the listing agreement. But 2 weeks ago, it was all about, we are divorced, but we need to get the most money we can. 2 weeks later, anybody in here divorced, not to get too personal. Some people, when you own a home and you have kids involved, you can't just throw your shit in a suitcase and leave. Right? So 2 weeks in that kind of environment is worth a lot of money. So I was prepared to have that conversation with them yesterday about, hey, listen, it's been 2 full weekends. We had 3 showings. We did get one offer from an investor that never even looked at the property for 460. They told that guy where to go and how to get it.
I did get a cash offer,
For how much?
450, and my
Yeah.
seller was like, "Don't."
Do you know who's king of writing those offers? Michael Lee.
I was like, I thought it was funny, I just wanted to mention it to you, but, you know, he did come in and did offer a cash offer.
Right, you have to present all
Exactly.
offers,
You
right?
have to present
You gotta
all
get ready to
offers,
laugh.
So
He's like, "Did you
to
think
that
about
point-
the house?" I was like,
to that point, when I have listing appointment or buyer appointments, this presentation buyer appointment, I tell them this, we're gonna code word. If I call you or I text you or I email you, that code word's the first word, just know that means what's coming next, you do not want to hear, but I'm obligated to tell you. So if our word's fire, when I send them the offer over fire, hey guys, got this offer, don't shoot the messenger, it's super low, here are your 3 options. Take it, reject it, counter it, what do you want to do? It took them 3 seconds to say no. So, but it sounds goofy, but it works. Most of the time, it'll work. Hey, I got a code word, fire, right? Something like that. With me and my clients, because I've known them a while, I don't usually call it an emergency word or whatever I call the safe word. Our safe word is fire. So, but I would show this to them. Look, these 4 active ones, 33, 36, 39, 46. Do you know what that tells me? Every one of them is overlisted. My problem with these clients was the one piece of feedback was from Monday morning, 11:30, that says price right. We go, what market? Right? If they want to sell their house tomorrow, my people need to drop to 500.
That's the problem with mine.
Or tell people they're giving $20,000 to do a rate
price
hike.
right. And I'm like, no, it's not, because if it was, it would have sold. And now I'm trying to have that conversation with my sellers about dropping the price, but he's not having it. He's
Right,
like,
and then-
nothing that comes out of my pocket is a go.
In 90, that's exactly what I'm being
Gonna be
told.
waiting a while then.
In 90 days, I can go back to, here's 3 that sold. Here's the photos of these 3. Where does it rank relative to yours? Lower, up, where do you want to list? We haven't sold any yet because we have the window between 9, 19, 21, and 33. So nothing sold in the market we're in today. Everything that sold is at least 3 weeks ago. So I can't really, I gotta get sellers to understand, we're in a wildly, vastly different market than we were 3 weeks ago. This is also why you gotta track numbers all the time.
I send them the numbers. Like, here, this is where we're at, this is where the market's down, guys. Hoping that they come to their own conclusion and say, hey, let's drop the price, but they got it.
Still,
I mean, the truth of it is relativity is playing such a huge role, and it's so, just like people are hung up on 3% or better interest rates, which is just an anomaly. Just like that's never happened in the history of things happening. Why do you
You know what
expect
the
it?
average interest rate has been in our country over the course of 30 years? 7.5%.
Which is where we are right now, and
What
everybody's,
was the abnormality was 3. That was stupid, almost irresponsible.
right,
So it is
it's all
fine.
relative, because that's what people have been seeing for the last 2 years.
Yep.
And so,
93% of realtors have never done a transaction where the interest rate was over 4.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous, right? Except it's not. 7's a good number. When Gary Keller started in 1978, the college degree in real estate interest rates were 17.
Yeah.
And he said, you know what happened? I sold houses because people still needed to move. 6 reasons people have to move. right?
What was the value of homes relative to people's incomes then though?
Way different,
Way
to be
different,
sure.
because that's the biggest variable right now is that people aren't making 10 times what they used to make.
Right.
Houses cost 10 times what they used to cost.
That's right. That is true.
We bought our first house, I believe it was at 12%.
So as far as interest rates go, here's my conversation with buyers. Look, today is still the best day to invest in a home. If you change your perspective on calling it a home at this point in the transaction to an investment, makes it a little easier. Here's the thing with interest rates, buy today. They're at 7.5, they're gonna be 8 next week. I buy at 8%. In 2 years, one of 3 things should have happened. They're interest rates have dropped and you can refinance, and you've got 2 years worth of equity. It's not gonna be a huge amount in 2 years, you still will have it, especially in Colorado, or homes. If this would settle at 8%, just be 8% for 2 years, you'd see our values go back up. 2, interest rates stay roughly the same. If you've been a homeowner for 2 years and got 2 years worth of equity built in, or 3, interest rates are 13 and you're gonna be kissing my feet that you bought when they were 8. Which one of those is a loss for you? There's not one. There's just a little gain, a little more gain, and a big gain. So that's the conversation I have about interest rates today. Right? Well, I'm gonna wait for the interest rates to hit 10. This is like the worst thing ever. I'm gonna wait for them to hit 10 and then watch property value slide by then. So you can make the same house payment, only 2% more. So you go to the bank. That doesn't make sense. Buy it at today's price because at least you got a chance to get your money back because you're gonna own the square footage. So it's just all about perspective. But when I just learned last week, average interest rate for the last 30 years has been 7%. Okay, where do I sign? Let's go. Right. Once again, at a listing appointment, which is the conversation I had with this couple, well, her, right? What's it gonna feel like if we don't sell this home in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks? What's that look like? You are miserable enough now to commit to getting divorced, unfortunately. How does that feel in 2 or 3 weeks if we haven't sold the home? That was the first year, right? It's right on cue. I do have a gift of being able to make pretty much anybody cry. I had you in mind.
Yes, you did. Like day one.
Everybody cries in real estate, even those of you that don't have tear ducts, you will cry in real estate at some point. All right, so as far as watching your numbers, watch these numbers. In the last 7 days, 1,044 new listings, 127 coming soon, 319 back on the market. 90 did a price increase, 1,960 homes. The price drop. 1,198 went pending, 269 will withdraw. 1,092 closed, 288 expired.
Is this a daily, weekly?
This is the last 7
In the
days.
7 days, okay.
I can change it to 24 hours, 3 hours, or 7
What was
Oh,
the
wow, okay.
criteria there?
Everything in the MLS.
Oh, it is.
Yep. I can do 24 hours today, 3 days, 7 days. I like to pull and look at these numbers on Tuesdays because the majority of homes that go under contract on Monday. Right?
Am I incorrect in thinking that that's still a really low overall inventory number? And I'm trying to, what is the total? I can't even tell what the total is right there. Active. I'm just curious, because when we were looking at that back in February and March, it was like astonishing, right? Like 1,700 listings is all in
Yeah,
all
it
of
was-
Colorado.
Yeah, it was pretty insane.
Press more.
Thank you.
Sorry, 523,000.
That number was literally like 1,700 or something in February.
So now how important is pricing the property per sound?
So
We're
You
gonna have to
want
move
low
it.
too, because you still have 2 levels on
Oh, yeah,
there,
do
so there'd be
still-
more.
That's totally nuts. Can I ask you a question about appraiser, appraisal stuff?
1.2 million something.
Yeah, be balanced. Because you maybe put active.
It's all interest rates and price points. It's what's messing everybody up.
Yeah.
If you were shopping for a house a few months ago and you were pre-approved for 600,000,
Sorry,
now your pre-approval is like 450 or
16,000,
something.
Nick, here's the real number, 16,246
That are active.
that are active right now.
It's still 10 times what it was in February.
Yes.
So the inventory, and I don't know what a healthy market would represent.
But their definition of healthy.
Doesn't feel healthy.
Here's
right
what I
now.
know, if I got qualified buyers that are ready, willing, and able, I can find them a house this weekend. I
Right.
believe that.
But it's that way because of the absorption rate, right?
Absorption rates, interest
Yeah.
rates, any other rates you can think of, right, all the rates.
All the rates.
Yeah, real quick sidebar, everybody coming in tomorrow to have a great office, and have a party, and throw pies at Michael?
Yeah.
Sweet. So 16,246, and how many have price drops? 1,900,
1,900, yeah.
1,900, so 10%, 12, 13% are price drops. It's actually pretty good. And only 300 and something were back on the market. Right? The other thing that I like to look at is
What's that?
closed 1,093, new listings 144. Closings outpaced new listings by 50.
I'm seeing all this,
these days.
going to all these open houses over the weekend. It was real interesting to talk to the agents and what's been happening for them with their listings and their open houses.
Yeah.
The house directly behind me, just fix and flip crew was in there for 5 weeks, got it all dialed in. It's very, very white, very sterile. And man, their first, I don't know what they're doing to market, but their first weekend of open house.
Yep.
There was 30 cars parked
Yeah.
on the block, and they had an accepted offer for full asking,
Yep.
which is 2 times what I paid for my house
Yep.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
I share a fence line with these folks. They have a smaller lot, a smaller house, but it had all the, like the 12-foot island with the waterfall edge, and you know, it still felt very Home Depot-y. It wasn't like, you know, like when you just look at the finishes of
I
this
think a
particular.
lot of vacant homes will do that. They just feel very warehousey, but you put a family in it, make it home, some furniture, a couch, and some, you know, sheets and socks on the floor and coffee stain on the dining room table like mine. That's like home. Real quick, I did give you all a page of what the map looks like from an actual appraisal. Read it. It's very, very interesting to learn. You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot from that. Every chance I get, I beg my buyers to give me a copy of the appraisal. Couple words of advice. If you're on the buy side, buyers that I'm closing tomorrow, we are under contract at 205, it appraised at 224. I do not want the listing agent to know what it appraised at. Because all that's gonna do is create issues between him and his seller. Listed it by $19,000.
So, never, if you're the listing agent, never ask. I asked once, well, I did ask. It sold for $377 and appraised at $399. It cost my seller $22,000.
Oh,
Bad news. This is one of those good news, bad news, worse news.
Are you obligated to tell your seller that?
No. But my seller asked because it was me. It was my own home.
Ah, oh, got it.
Yes, and I was furious. Unbeknownst to me, I could defend it just a little bit. Unbeknownst to me, the day before my appraisal happened, the house next door, which was the best comp, sold. The little old guy that lived there, I didn't even know it was on the market. He sold it off market and then put it in MLS. Sold it to his son, and as near as I can tell, hated his son with every amount of energy he had in him. Because he ripped his son off. And it bumped my appraisal up because that was the number one, and as it should have been, the number one comp that the appraiser used. And I didn't talk to me for weeks. I was pretty upset about it. So
On the buy side, it feels very uncommon that, I guess I'm feeling a little confused. I feel like appraisers, they should know what the contract offer price is, right? The contract price is.
Yep.
Why would they be motivated to appraise anything higher than that? Or, I mean, they're motivated to be honest
they're
about their appraisal.
motivated to be accurate.
Right.
They need to be accurate. They are required to be within a certain percentage. If they're not within a certain percentage of the contract price, they better be able to defend why that's the case.
Because that house in Castle Rock that you helped me write up, that one wound up appraising for 40,000 over in a
Yep.
market where everybody was, I mean, we had an appraisal gap written in.
Yep.
Because we were worried it was going to not appraise for as
Yep.
much as our offer.
It's a listing agent that didn't do their job, and an appraiser that hit their head or something, I don't know. 'Cause that one seemed pretty reasonably priced.
We offered 50,000 over asking,
Yep.
and we appraised for 40,000 over that.
Yep.
That was awesome.
So at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is, you just never know in this industry. You just never know. My buyers tomorrow are in the very low end price point. They're getting a bank statement loan, which is like pulling teeth anyway. He said, no, we had it too cold yesterday. The lender, the original loan objection deadline was Friday. At 4:30 on Friday, I find out the reason we don't have clear to close yet is because 2 months ago, the HOA changed their PO box delivery address for HOA payments. And which is fine, didn't do a very good job of communicating it out to their owners in the complex. So as it sits right now, they have a 35% delinquency rate in their HOA deals. And the lender was like, we're not making a loan in a complex that has a 35% delinquency rate on their HOAs. So the lender had to get a hold of the board, got a board member from the HOA to agree to have a phone conversation directly with the president of the investors. And it just takes time. So you never know what kind of screwy stuff's gonna happen. Some of it's fun, some of it sucks,
yeah.
right? But when you sit at a closing table, I don't care what you went through. I don't care how hellish it was or how hard it was or how long it took or how many awful conversations you had to have. When you sit at a closing table and you change someone's life through the vehicle of real estate, it's worth every second.
Oh, I bet it is.
It is. I tell people all the time, I have a license to change your life through the vehicle of real estate. I don't care if you're selling or buying or investing or what you're doing. I learned this accidentally. I've been in the industry, I don't know, 3 years. And I met a couple at an open house, younger couple. And two super cute little girls, and they came in, they liked the house, they didn't have an agent, they hired me. Ended up not wanting to offer on that house, but I showed them 3 houses, they picked one and bought it. Went under contract, we literally asked for nothing, an inspection, no appraisal issues, nothing. To the point where even I freaked out the night before, it was too late.
This is weird.
No, man, there's like the other shoe's gonna drop, like something's on fire right now, I'm not gonna know till in the morning.
That's how I felt with my buyer.
We get to closing and they're signing all the docs and the wife starts to cry. And I was like, you don't know this. But this has been like the easiest transaction in the history of real estate. Like you don't even know how easy this really was. And she says, Ricky, I'm 24 years old. My husband is 26. Our daughters are 8 and 6. We started our adult lives very early in life. And because of you, we get to send our daughters to the elementary school that we chose the day we found out we were pregnant 9 years ago. Wow. And I was like, I just changed their lives. You know? And that's when it hit me. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing today. To change people's lives should be delivery listing, whatever that might mean. This is going to be a rough deal in terms of getting this listing under contract on price and balance and what it looks like. Right? It's not going to be a lot of fun. But when we get to the closing table, if this goes in the best way, we go to closing and we close. If it does not, I got to go to closing twice. I've done that a lot in my career. Unfortunately, as a realtor, death and divorce are really good for business. I've been to closings where they were both there and we bounced back and forth between the soon-to-be divorced couple because they couldn't even stand to be in the same room with each other. Right? I've done that. So I get the opportunity to change their lives through real estate, sell it because I can sell it for the most money possible. I still believe that. I mean, they'll sell it for the most money I can get. We can get out of that home. They'll split the proceeds and they'll both be able to at least take the next step in co-parenting and where are they going to live and what's that going to look like, right? And I'll know that I help them at least be able to do that because I'm divorced twice. I've been there. That's not fun, right? And what they don't know until you've been divorced the second time, well, you learn the first time, hopefully knowing that you have to go through it twice. You don't know what the next day is going to look like. Moving day, where I'm going to look like, it's just all different, right? And so I can help make that a little bit better for them. Here's another thing that happened. So I pulled their O&E, right? You're going to do one of these, you're going to do a CMA, pull the O&E. Ownership and encumbrances. It costs you $5 from the title company. You need to know who owns it, because you need to know who's going to sign all the docs, how they spell their name, do they use middle initial, all of that. What are the encumbrances? Who has a right to the proceeds? Who's the mortgage company, right? So I get the O&E here, it's like 49 pages, and I'm like, that's one of the longest ones I've ever seen. So in 2020, they took advantage of the forbearance opportunity and they went into forbearance for 10 months. The lender did is they took that 10-month period, credited their first mortgage for those payments, took that amount of money, made a second loan out of it, and applied a second lien to the property. So they owe the same lender 2 different liens. And then there is there's another lien on it. The husband has a $5,000 credit card lien on him or on the house in his name. And just the way my conversations have gone with her from before, it's the lady that cuts my hair, by the way. The conversations I had with her before, like, I was like, you know what? I will bet money she doesn't even know this exists. And I had to sit at the listing appointment and tell her that it existed, and she did not know. She was like, I didn't even know he had a Capital One credit card. Oh, he did. $5,000 and never paid it. And now there's lien on your house. Unfortunately, that has to be paid, and I'm terribly sorry that I have to be the one to share this. At least she was, she was understanding. That's a weird place to be. Death and divorce are good for business. I've done a lot of estate sales. Here's the worst call I ever had to make in real estate in 11 years. Worst phone call ever. Friend of mine, her grandfather died. He spent his entire life buying a house for his 2 kids when he died to sell and split the proceeds. He didn't have life insurance. That was it. So you can do whatever you want. Worst case scenario, call it, split it, sell it, whatever. So he passes. Probate, goes through probate. I go over and I look at the house and I tell him, I'm confident I can sell this for $450. Buyers come in and they say, we really are interested in this home, but we think you've got a foundation issue. Would you guys let us bring in a foundation expert before we write an offer? I said, sure, you can do that. If the timing works out, we're not going to hold off on other offers. They said, of course not, that's fine. Sold that for $330,000 because it was $118,000 fixed on the foundation. And I had to call them and tell them, I'm sorry, I know your father worked his entire life to pay this off, and I told you I could sell it for $450. The best for me is $332. Toughest conversation I ever had. Now I see him every Wednesday night at bowling. They don't hate me.
Well, hey, there you go.
They don't hate me.
Just remind you. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding.
Shelby, the
Okay.
daughter, the granddaughter, she's brought it up a couple of times. But she's figured me out. It's not like I'm tricky to figure out. She waits till I'm standing in line at the wall. So guess we just got another free drink because I feel guilty.
Oh, that's good. She catches you at the right time.
Yeah, when I figured that out, I was like, you sly dog. And then I was like, I'm actually getting off easy, $118,000, and I gotta buy a couple of drinks.
Yeah.
So, you know, so. But when you get to call those people that made an offer and you were one of 14 offers and yours gets selected and you get to make that phone call. When I got cleared to close last night, literally at 4:58, and I got to call them and say, we finally got cleared to close. And you just hear tears on the phone. That's why I do what I do. I get to change people's lives. I also had an issue when I first figured out, I like what I do and I think I'm pretty good at it. And I think I can be pretty inspirational at times and I get people excited about buying a home. And then you get all done and you buy your clothes, and then they have to move. Who the hell likes moving?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Sucks.
People stay married for decades because neither one of them want to move.
Yeah.
Moving sucks. In the history of life, no one's ever rolled over on Friday morning and said, hey, you know what? Let's move. Because I feel like packing up everything we have, moving it into a truck, driving, unloading it and unpacking it. That just seems exciting. No, ever, no. No. So I gotta get people excited about doing something that sucks. But it could change their life. They buy their dream home. I have really good friends of mine actually. Called me and he said, hey, I think we're ready. We want to sell our house. We're going to buy our dream home. We already know what it is. Okay. So I go over, I do a CMA and blah, 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 blah. And I go over to the listing appointment. I walk downstairs, everything's cool. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, congratulations. This is really awesome. Because I'm not selling your house. And they were confused as hell. And I was like, we're gonna refi this bad boy, give you enough cash to go buy your dream home and have someone else buy you this house. He told me I couldn't do it because there's no way. 11 weeks. And it was right as the prices were going stupid. Right? So when we went to the new build to have their new home built, they didn't have the exact lot they wanted. They had an okay lot. There were a couple of things that they weren't going to be able to get on that lot. One of the things was Jeff wanted a walkout basement. So we could get the floor plan. They had the floor plan they wanted on the okay lot without the walkout basement. So Jeff was like, I can live without those. That's fine. Christy's wife was like super excited because her number one rule is she has a 22-foot Christmas tree. And I had to find her a home that she could hang the Christmas tree in. So we looked at some other homes and whatever. So we went back to this was our dream home, right? So you go to sign the contract with the new build. The new build's like, oh, by the way, this isn't really the contract. We're not going to sign it with you until we break ground. Great. When are you breaking ground? 4 to 6 months. Why won't you sign a contract today? Because at the current prices, this home's going to be worth about $55,000 more in 4 to 6 months than it is today. Because I mean, the values of homes are skyrocketing, right? Jeff knew the math and I knew the math, and he's like, if this goes more than $38,000 over, you can't get the loan. We're gonna have to sell the house to get the loan to buy it. I'm like, just trust me. So they passed on that one. We were waiting for a couple of different things, looking at different houses, looking at some used homes, even considered briefly building one. Nothing made sense. And then miraculously, in the same neighborhood, literally across the street from the show home, was the dream home that had everything they wanted. It was 3 years old, and the seller got transferred, had to sell the house. So they bought that one. And you sit down with those people, and now they're in their dream home. Their kids are ecstatic, wife is ecstatic, Jeff is crazy happy about it. And someone else is buying them a $400,000 investment. And they're cash flowing to boot. That's pretty cool. So
how does that look? Do you leverage their equity for down payment? On the
Yep.
other one? But the rent still covers the.
The
first
rent
and-
covers the first,
and
the second, and the cash flow. Yep.
Can I talk to you tomorrow about the open house?
Yes, I would enjoy that very much. I'm teaching Ignite. We'll be here for Ignite.
So Sarah, are you teaching tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm teaching Ignite.
Okay.
tomorrow. If you meet me tomorrow, working with buyers, working with sellers, I'll tell you all my other bad stories. Okay, yes, we'll get together and chat about it.
Okay. sounds good.
Thank you all for coming.
Peace out.
When you have questions, call me. I'll do my little best thing.
You're supposed to put your name on the back, and then there's a little thing on the front.
Why, are y'all ready to go sell homes now? Yeah, that's how I feel. Yep.
Oh, he has his own, I think this is for you.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. Oh, I thought it was thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna have to clean the table.
Yes, you have.
What, me?
Such a long time. I know you were busy.
Here,
Yeah.
Put your back there.
Here, I'll help you take over. She's not
Finish my snack.
Snacks are important.
I guess I'm gonna come back.
Say bye, everybody. Bye, bye. Bye, you're so happy. Let's get out of here. Bye.
I don't know,
Let's get out of here,
I
Mom.
know. He's ready.
He's ready. He's been a good boy.
Stay right there. No, I have two other.
Oh,
Hi, how are you? How are you? Oh my God, you did so good. Hi, look at you. Hello. Hi. Hi. Are you putting at your butt? Your butt? Your butt? Your butt? Sit. Sit. Got a big butt and I cannot lie. You can, but I guess you should. This guy decided to write on the table with pen. Jump, 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 jump. Don't teach him how to do dangerous stuff. Yes. Look at him. What is he doing? He's scared. Whee! Good job, honey. That's a good job. He's like, yeah, I know. Yeah, tell you. You know. Aren't you the cutest? What time is your is it a buyer's?
I gotta go right now, yeah, buyers. And she's not answering and that's, I'm like,
Is it an appointment to see if she'll sign the contract with you?
or what? Girl, I'm
she's
making us
already-
sign a contract, I do not care, like, she's way too high up to risk losing. They're investors. Right now, they're purchasing the 41st, yes, they're purchasing the 41st property.
When did you get that?
Yesterday, dude, I didn't even want it, I was like, oh. Dude, obviously, I think a lot of people are quitting it. Cause I claimed something and I didn't win it. And 20 minutes later, they call me. So, yes, so he must have like went for agents and everybody said like no or something. Cause I took a while to press, cause I didn't have my phone on. So I took like at least a minute or two to press it.
I had a buyer come in, I accepted him, it was already saying about something else, but you know, I have pretty fast fingers. You know,
Yeah, dude,
I'm the
you're
fastest fingers on the tape, right? And I'm like, what the- dude, I haven't gotten anything. I know, I'm sorry. Don't be sorry, it's adorable. You gotta walk in? Okay, bye. Bye. Okay, bye, Gabby.
Bye, 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 bye. Thanks. No, but when is it? But when is it? When is the time? That's all right. I see a follow through. You do, you do. We'll see you later or. Are you bringing decorations?
Yeah, like the levy from,
They're huge, they're huge. They're the same size as that one. I saw a house that had them, and I was like, you gotta.
So that. Plug in, and then I have candles, like a black orange candle that has.
But it's outside of their office. Yeah, but we don't know what. All right. I'll bring them. Girl, you have to go. Wait, I don't know about that.
I was gonna say balloons, but then I was thinking. Actually, that's not true. Because we have balloons all the time and they last for a week.
I gotta go. Yeah, I'll talk to you. Bye.
See you, girlfriend. I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, have a great day.
Bye. You too.
Thank you.